Welcome back to A Well-Read Nerd. I'm Amber, and it's Book Review Tuesday time again. Now today we are going to be doing Space for Love by Emily Antoinette. Emily is my mutual over on TikTok. You see how I get the free books. In any case, she sent me an ARC copy of Space for Love that's coming out on August 8th. I'm getting this review to you guys a little bit ahead of that, hopefully, so that if you do want to get a pre-order for it or go ahead and buy it, you can go ahead and snag those while they're still available. She's doing signed pre-orders and all that stuff, so like if you're interested, I will once again link what I can down below. In any case, let's get into what this book's about. And spoiler warning, today's video is going to be a little bit longer than my usual Tuesday reviews. There's some stuff I really want to talk about with this book. In any case, the main beat of the novel follows Serafina, shortened Fina, a human who has recently relocated to a space station, like an alien space station, for a new job with a new company. She already has a friend that's there that works at the same company. It's the reason why she moved there. All that kind of stuff, but it's sort of a fish out of water story. She's the only human. She's sort of an oddity. She's a plus size woman, which makes her self-conscious to begin with. And then, added on, she's surrounded by all these aliens and they're looking at the human because the human is weird to them. It adds a bit of a fish in a fishbowl kind of situation in the beginning of the novel, which I kind of like because, it's real life. If you move somewhere that's different, sometimes you do feel like everybody's looking at you even when everybody's not looking at you. But because of her best friend, who is I have a best friend who's very similar in real life, and he knows who he is, to this character who just I got the dynamic completely between these two, and I was all there for it. But anyway, because her best friend wants her to have a good time on her first night on the space shuttle, gives her a little token to go over to a special happy fun place. Like a VR special happy fun place. But doesn't explain that that's what it is. And anyway, through that, she meets an alien who works there named Burke, I think it is. Anyway, and it sort of starts a romance. And this is a romance novel, alright? It's cute. It's funny. There are some things in there I'm going to talk about in a sec. But overall, it's a cute, funny story about a human going out into the galaxy to live her best life and meeting a cute cinnamon roll alien who looks all big and scary but is really sweet to her and then rocks her world repeatedly. Again, I'm going to get into some more of that in a minute. Once we get past the point where anybody would pay attention, even to my small channel. But yeah, it's a romance. It's a monster romance. And if you're unfamiliar with the genre, it's basically girl meets monster fall in love romance. It's its own unique brand of subgenre. This one is technically a subgenre of a subgenre because you have monster romance, and then this one is technically alien monster romance, which is below monster romance, because monster romance just covers all of it. Alien is its own offshoot, so that technically this is a monster alien romance because he looks like a monster but he's an alien. In any case, like I said, it's a cute, funny, sweet story. There is a miscommunication trope in it, but it's fine. He thinks that she finds him big and scary. She thinks that she's made some sort of social faux pas thing, which makes sense because they're two different species meeting for the first time. There's going to be some of that miscommunication. It's actually handled relatively well. It doesn't drag out for most of the novel. There's no real third act breakup in this either, which I always appreciate. I mean, there's kind of a third act breakup, but we'll get to that in a minute because it has to do with spoiler. It has to do with something I want to talk about. But there's kind of a blip, but it's not what I would call a third act breakup. It's more of a midpoint breakup, which is, it's fine. It plays with the narrative. It plays with that miscommunication trope that was in the beginning part of the novel. It stems naturally from what's going on, and also it, like, nobody's reaction seems overly exaggerated. I wouldn't even really call it a breakup. It's more of a I'm not talking to you for 2 days and then like get back together kind of deal. So I don't even know if that would be considered a breakup. Like, well, I'm pretty sure he thinks it's a breakup. Like, he thinks it's a breakup. She does not think it's a breakup. She thinks it's I'm mad at you and I'm not going to talk to you for a few days kind of situation. But that's beside the point. So there is that. If that's a deal breaker for you, I can see why this would be a deal breaker for you. And like I said, it's very much a romance. Like, if it's low stakes romance. I'm not a big fan of low stakes romance, or cozy romance as it's sometimes called in general, but I make an exception for monster romance. Like, I do. Like, there's just something about a big old scary monster who's secretly a sweetheart, who meets a lady and or a dude, and falls in love, and it's cute and it's fluffy, and like they're happy. Like, there's just something about that like I vibe with. If the monster character was a human, I would have DNF'd at chapter 5. But because it's a monster, I kept reading. And, you know, you guys can make your own assumptions about my psyche and my mental health all you want. But that's how I roll. Like, I like it when it's cute and fuzzy and there's a monster involved. Sorry. Now, at this point, I'm just going to give you my rating, and then we're going to skip over into spoiler talk for the book. If you don't want to know any spoilers, I'm going to keep them light just in case you guys do decide you want to hear the spoilers to know exactly what I'm talking about, because I'm going to talk about trigger warnings, a conversation I had with the author, and how it plays into the narrative. If you don't want to know, like, you can check out at any point. But I would say I definitely recommend this book. It's a 5-star. I had a great time beginning, middle, and end. I devoured this book. I can't stop talking about it. I can't wait until I've ordered the like signed copy off of her website, so I'd have it when it came out. I can't wait till it comes in so I can show it off to you guys. Like, I can't wait. Like, I want to read this book again. It's on my reread in the next like 2 years list that I have going. And yeah, like, I just absolutely loved it. It was perfect for me, perfect time for me to read it. It was just a good bit of like very spicy alien romance. Like, that's what it was. It was spicy, it was delicious, it was everything I was looking for, okay? So yeah, I would say if that sounds like something that you would be interested in, especially if you're not familiar with the genre and you want to, like, you know, get into it, it is Emily's debut novel, so I would say it's a pretty good introductory. Like, if you've not read in the genre before, as bad as it sounds, this one's pretty mild. So not the spice level, the weird level. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's fine. Keep being the sweet little marshmallow that you are, and just know, like, this is a good place to start. So yeah, like, I would say go over to her website, check it out, see about getting like the ebook or the I don't think it's going to be available in KU, so I think the ebook and the paperback are your only options. But I would definitely say, you know, check it out. Maybe check out some of the other reviews. Everybody else seemed to have as good a time as I did, so there's that. So there's that part of the review. Now we're going to skip over into spoiler talk. Fair warning, I am going to talk about spicy content during this. I don't just mean trigger warnings, I'm going to mean spicy content. So if spicy content is not your thing, don't comment down below and tell me, ew. Just like click off the video like an adult, man. And if you're a 13-year-old, how did you get here? Let me know in the comments and then leave. Anyway, so like I said, there's a miscommunication trope in this book. It mostly stems from Fina and her love interest that I said his name was Burke at the beginning. It's not. His name's actually Marlon, and that's where the miscommunication comes in, because he is the one operating the little VR thing when she goes into what she does not know is Happy Fun Time Place with VR, but he's using a hologram, so she doesn't actually know what he looks like. And they have a great rapport, they get along. She's happy that like somebody seems interested and flirty with her. and everything like that. And so she thinks that she found like a friend and like, you know, maybe somebody else, and that makes her super excited because she just got out of a bad relationship, and really she just wants to find love again. And then through her friend, whose name I am blanking on, she has 4 arms. I remember the depiction vividly from the book, but I cannot remember her name. Because of her best friend who she works with, she meets Marlin in full Marlin form, not behind a hologram, at a bar, like almost immediately after their first interaction, when like she's in like he accidentally puts her, he misunderstands what she requests for her VR experience and accidentally puts her in a BDSM setting that she was not prepared for. Gives her a free credit, it's fine. It's kind of awkward, but like, you know. Anyway, out from the hologram, they run into each other at a bar because Finna's best friend knows Marlin. And he's big and he's scary and he's got like these glowing marks he's got on his skin. He's like grayish colored with like white hair, and he's got like fangs and talons and that kind of thing. And he looks big and scary. And their interaction is awkward. Again, she doesn't know that this is the same guy who just accidentally put her in a BDSM VR. Like, it's awkward and stuff. She thinks she like did some sort of like faux pas, like I said, and it switches back POVs, her POV and his POV. It's kind of helpful to like know what everybody's thinking, so like the audience doesn't really, like, they're not communicating well with each other, but the audience kind of knows what's going on, which makes it better, arguably. He just thinks that she thinks he's scary and doesn't want anything to do with him, so like he tries not to have anything to do with her, but they end up being friends, and you know, like they have like a good interaction, and they kiss at a certain point because like she's trying to like get away from somebody who she thinks is like stalking her through a garden, so they like kiss and everything else. But like, this is where I need to get into one of the trigger warnings that I had a conversation with Emily on the TikTok, because I put in my TikTok review. I view that this book should come with a dubcon warning. Now, if you don't know what dubcon is short for dubious consent. It's basically like the person technically consented, but they didn't have enough information to really consent. Okay, and the reason why I said this is because she's going to add it in, not to, as far as I know, maybe not to the paperback versions. I think she already ordered those, but in the ebooks and then later paperbacks will definitely have the dubcon warning and the content warning on the first page. So Finna thinks that she's talking to an alien called Burke. Right? That's who she had a rapport with. That's who she goes back to see. It's actually this like spicy scene earlier on where like she convinces him in like his holograph like weird form to basically like go to in a beach simulator with her, and like they make out and stuff through the hologram and get kind of hanky-panky, if you get my drift. And there's like massage and all sorts of stuff. She, at this point, doesn't realize that Burke and the friend that she's made in the real world, Marlin, are the same person. But he knows. He knows who she is. He knows that that's Finna. That's the person that he's been like having a friendship with, and also the person he's been flirting with as she comes into the simulator and everything else, and who he's currently making out with through a simulator like hologram thing. He knows all of that. She does not. Okay, you get where it's dubious. Like, she wants to be like doing these things, but he's withholding information that would help her to make an informed decision about her consent. Now, she, like I said, she consents to it. That's why it's like dubious consent. It's not like non-consensual. Like, she's all there for it. It's just, he is withholding information that she definitely needs to know. Like, she needs to know that Burke and Marlin are the same person. That the person that she's been flirting with and everything else is the same sexy alien that she's become friends with. like, because she's got the HOTS for him in his regular form, like not behind the hologram and everything else. She thinks he's hot and he's a nice guy and a good friend, and she wants to climb him like he's a tree, and she's a lumberjack. But she doesn't because she thinks that he only wants to be her friend. But in actuality, he's been slowly seducing her through a hologram because he thinks that she won't like him if she saw what he actually looked like, which, again, she wants to climb him like he's a tree and she's a lumberjack, okay? Like, she would, like, there'd be clothes everywhere in 30 seconds flat if the right words came out of his mouth. That's the dubious consent here. It especially, like, ramps up into further dubious consent when, instead of it being a hologram, later on, she convinces him, air quotes, she does convince him to basically come into the simulator in like his normal form with her. And then they engage in, you know, sexy fun times. Oh, which another, I'm going to do a funny note later with this, but like that's for the people who stay to the end. There's something funny here. But that's where the dubious consent comes in, because then it's not just hiding behind the hologram, like he is physically interacting with her while still pretending to be another person. And then she finds out, and then she like doesn't talk to him for 2 days, and he's heartbroken, as he should be, and then they get back together. Like, I mean, it's romance, you know what's gonna happen. They're gonna get back together by the end. Like, it's fine. So yeah, anyway, if I think that the dubious consent does work with the narrative, okay? It's one of those tricky things. Like, it works here. Like, I'm not faulting it. It works. It's not done grossly. I can see why Emily didn't realize that it was dubious consent when she was figuring out the triggers for the book until I pointed it out. It's because it's a fine thing. But that's the thing about it being dubious, is it's a fine line between yes and I wouldn't have said yes if I'd known this. And in this case, she would have still said yes if she had known. It's the fact that he withheld that information from her so she couldn't make a fully informed, like she wasn't fully informed when she consented to the acts that happened between them. That's where the problem comes from. And again, it's fiction, it's fine. But I do think it was important to have that on the trigger pages, because people who have been in not so pleasant entanglements with other people, that is something that happens quite frequently. But yeah, I think it plays into the themes of like a big theme in this book is like self-esteem and self-acceptance, and like Finna learning to be comfortable in her own skin as a plus-size woman, and Marlon learning that like just because some people don't find him attractive doesn't mean nobody finds him attractive, like that kind of thing. And I think that's a great message to have. And like I said, the dubious consent and stuff, it plays into that. Like, he apologizes, there's an apology, there's a reconciliation there. So it all plays well together. It's not like this gross thing that they never talk about. Like, he realizes he was an asshole for doing that to her and says, I'm sorry, the bare minimum you can do. But yeah, like, there's all of that. So I think in the form of the narrative, it makes sense to have it there. It's just something that should be discussed, how dubious consent can be done well and it can be done poorly. In this case, it's done as well as you can when it's not just like play. There are some BDSM elements in this later, so they do like to play around. Yeah, when it's in a scene, it's one thing. This wasn't in a scene, so like I do feel like it needs to be there, it needs to be talked about, all that kind of stuff, but it does work overall. Now, if you made it this far, and what I think is the best spoiler and the 100% reason why you should read this book, so not only is he like ribbed for her pleasure, love that, so his like spunk, I guess, there's no good word for this, it like makes her kind of high, but like she but not like high like impaired, high like super giggly and like having a great time kind of high, because she has an allergic reaction to his spunk. And on top of this, earlier in the book, her mom gave her like a little thing that like looks like an inhaler, this book got like knockout gas in it, and this is when she's finding out like who he is. Like, you know, she like still doesn't know. This is the scene where like she finds out like who he is. So like she's like having a great time, doesn't understand what his problem is, and he thinks she's having an allergic reaction because he's on the phone with the best friend, and he's like, I found an inhaler, and she was like, yeah, she's got allergies. So but it's knockout gas. He knocked her out. I don't know why I find all of this so funny, but I do. It's like the best part of the book. I love the entire scene. It's just like, it's the most realistic portrayal of happy fun times, like spicy fun times that I've ever seen, because in real life it never goes like the fantasy. Like, something always happens. Like, it's never like, oh, everything goes off without a hitch. Like, you know, like, no, like sometimes, like, you know, you get a leg cramp and bust your head against the headboard, and sometimes you fall off the bed, and sometimes, like, you know, stuff happens, the handcuffs get stuck. Like, that's real life. And like the fact that it's just this comedy of errors leading from a spicy scene, I absolutely love, because I think it's the most honest portrayal of like what something like that would actually look like, because they're just like trying to get it on in a VR like simulator, and it's like, you know, nothing's gonna go well there. Like, something's gonna go wrong, and everything went wrong. But anyway, like, on top of his like happy fun time juice, I don't know, like, I need to think of better words. On top of that, like, making her super giddy and stuff. Like I said, they broke up for like 2 days over this, because she's like, oh, he lied to me about who he was, and then she's like, no, it's fine. Like, I got mad at him, I got over it. But you know what, your prerogative. So, and then it gets straight into like the, you know, spicy, like mildly BDSM, who's a good girl kind of stuff, which again, I'm all for, especially because he's like a sweet cinnamon roll the rest of the time, and then he's just like, yeah. In any case, that's my spoilery portion of Space for Love. Like I said, definitely recommend you guys go read it. It's out August 8th. Link Emily's stuff down below. You guys can pre-order if you want, or wait. Go check out the other Goodreads reviews. Do all that kind of stuff. It's her debut novel, so, you know, go show her some love if you want to. But yeah, that's going to be it. And I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.